Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The government has made some changes to the rollout of universal credit in the past few weeks, but the impact is yet to be felt by many on the front line. The DWP is actually referring people to food banks whilst they wait for payments to be made. And one MP is warning the situation will get worse over Christmas. It was supposed to make things better, yet there's precious little festive cheer in Oldham. It was one of the first places in the country to pilot universal credit, combining 6 benefits and tax credits into one, an attempt to reduce administrative costs and help people back into work. Yet, almost from day one, the scheme has been beset by problems. Payments are made monthly rather than weekly, with many unable to balance their budget. It can take 6 weeks or more to receive the first instalment, meaning bills can go unpaid. Some have even been evicted from their homes. And although funds can be made available in advance, this is still money that has to be repaid. The government has delayed the rollout in order to deal with these problems. That is, of course, no consolation to those who've had to move on to universal credit, many of them very vulnerable indeed.
I've got an alcohol problem, which I'm alcohol dependent, which I'm slowly in one recovery and reducing my alcohol, and I just want a better life.
So what was the worst part of the process? Just the length of time to get the first payment?
It's the length of time. It took me 12 weeks.
12 weeks? The government says it should be no more than 6.
It took longer. You've got to keep doing these different things, and your sick notes, you keep them, and all of a sudden they want them and they don't want them. And it's just such hard work to get that. But then they say, oh, you can have an advance payment, but then you don't realise when you first get paid, you're paying most of that back again. You just find yourself stuck in a rut doing the same thing. If you haven't got it, you're borrowing it. When you get your money, you're paying it back, so you're still in a debt. And it's just add up all the time.
How has it been in terms of dealing with your accommodation?
That's hard work because they've rolled everything, universal credits now, have rolled everything into one. So your rent, you get the money for your rent, where I've asked if I can have it paid to my landlord, and they've not done that. And my first payment, I thought, because I waited so long for my money, it was what I were owed, and I spent it. So then that got me more in debt.
Tell me how you felt through this process as you've been trying to get onto universal credit.
Awful, depressed, anxious, depressed. As I'm alcohol, I have hit the bottle again through the stress of it all.
How are you feeling, you and the family, as you're looking towards Christmas?
Hard work, a bit down, wondering how we're coping, how we're going to have enough, how we're going to be warm, obviously weather again, how we're going to be warm, have we got enough food, how we're going to get through Christmas, and how we're going to have a good time. And it's really hard work.
No new scheme is ever perfect, but universal credit is now more than 4 years old. Make no mistake, every single MP, Labour, Conservative, whatever, who's in a constituency like this where universal credit is being rolled out will have heard stories like Rachel's, and many of those will have been far, far worse. And it's not as if the problems that people applying for universal credit experience have come out of nowhere. They've been well known and documented since the very first days of the pilot. One support worker said to me, this isn't a political issue, it's a humanitarian one.
For me, that's the cruelest thing about all this. The lessons that we are all taught about the world of work just don't apply anymore. People are in very low-paid, insecure employment that can be very precarious, and the system doesn't take into account that in the way that it ought to. But more than that, for a benefit system to work, it's got to be there when you need it. And when you fall hard on the floor, it's not good enough to say, do you mind waiting a month before we come and pick you up?
You're not the first to do it, but you used the word cruel there. I mean, in your mind, is that a fair characterisation of what David Gauke and others are doing to your constituents?
Well, yeah, and they're not my words. They're the words of people who are in universal credit, who are being sent to the food bank, sometimes, by the way, by DWP staff, who recognise the hardship that people are going through, give them a referral to the food bank to go and get food. I've also
so if we just be clear about that, you know that DWP staff are referring your constituents to food banks because they can't get money from the DWP.
Yeah, because people will present and say, listen, I've got no food in the cupboard, my children haven't got any food, and they'll say, well, have you gone to the food bank? And they'll give them a referral to go and get a food parcel. Now, that's not the reflection of one of the world's wealthiest countries. That's the system that's in place.
And so it's left to charities like the Oldham Food Bank to pick up the DWPs. A collaboration between local churches and community groups, it provides emergency supplies to people who literally have nothing. It also provides counselling and advice on how to navigate the complex labyrinthine processes of universal credit. What does it say about the welfare state when hundreds of people pass through this one food bank every single month?
Benefits have never been that much. Or if you're working, you've not got a large income. Savings are probably non-existent. So for a 6-week at least wait, nobody's got that kind of backup. If they're borrowing it from people, if they go to loan sharks, I mean, that in itself is a problem. If they're borrowing it from family, a lot of the people's families, they haven't got the wherewithal either to help. I'm quite old now, and the idea that I have, that I would reach this age and see this happening, I can't really reconcile with it. I don't think it's fair. I think that crisis has been brought about by a policy.
The point of principle behind universal credit is one agreed upon and supported by both government and opposition. Yet in practice, for all the good it has done, it has also put vulnerable people at risk of hunger and homelessness this Christmas. In persisting with the rollout, even at a slower pace, the government is in essence conceding that the policy is worth the suffering. Well, in response, the DWP told us that advance payments are available to people in time for Christmas and that work coaches work closely with claimants to ensure that they get the help they need. This includes making them aware of support that is available elsewhere, including, the statement continues, citizens' advice bureaus, their GP or local food banks.